domestic terrorism, an escalation that critics said could lay the groundwork for crushing anti-conservative dissent more broadly. The reason why all of the very prominent, very visible right-wing content creators and right-wing accounts on Twitter have been actively saying, Hassan, you foment violence. Hassan, you foment violence. Hassan, you want violence to happen to conservatives. You want unlimited violence to happen to conservatives. You're a violent figure. The reason why they're doing that, the reason why they're escalating it, the reason why the reason why they get the knives out is for this, so they can get the attention of the most Twitter-facing administration of all time to play a role in trying to silence political opposition, to try and silence political dissent. Okay? That's it. And it's ironic because if this was a different administration, and we were talking about this, like, there are organizations out there that are violent, that have been prosecuted by previous administrations, both left and right. Okay? Atomwaffen is a great example of this. Prominent neo-Nazi groups, Patriot Prayer, and all these other established neo-Nazi networks are responsible for a lot of violence and a lot of domestic terror on U.S. soil. This is a reality that the administration itself has recognized as well. The Department of Justice also released a study. What the NIJ, National Institute of Justice, released was their own research about domestic terrorism. Okay? NIJ-funded research projects have led to a better understanding of the processes that result in violent action, factors that increase the risk of radicalizing to violence, and how best to prevent and respond to violent extremism. Now, the reason why we're looking at this page that was on the National Institute of Justice government page on the Wayback Machine is because they deleted it. They deleted this study. The Department of Justice removed this study from their webpage. The reason why they removed the study from their webpage is because when they investigated further on what kind of dangerous radicalization was taking place, both online and on U.S. soil in general, that leads to the overwhelming majority of violent extremist actions, domestic terror on U.S. soil, they found out that it was more often than not right-wing. Okay? Militant, nationalistic, white supremacist, violent extremism has increased in the United States. In fact, the number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violent extremism. Since 1990, far-right extremists have committed far more ideologically motivated homicides than far-left or radical Islamist extremists, including 227 events that took more than 520 lives. In this same period, far-left extremists committed 42 ideologically motivated attacks that took 78 lives. A recent threat assessment by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security concluded that violent domestic extremists are an acute threat and highlighted a probability that COVID-19 pandemic-related stressors, long-standing ideological grievances related to immigration, and narratives surrounding electoral fraud will continue to serve as a justification for violent actions. A lot of conservatives used to always talk about, 1984, George Orwell, 1984. This is unironically 1984 shit. George Orwell himself was also an anti-fascist, right? He was also anti-Stalin, but he was, he went and engaged in anti-fascist acts. His gripe was towards authoritarianism in general. Maybe sometimes he got a little heavy-handed, a little bit of an anarchist tendency. But regardless, right, he was very clearly talking about fascist authoritarian mechanisms of control. And this very same book that the Republicans kept fucking repeatedly talking about over and over and over again, okay? This very same book that Republicans kept talking about over and over and over again is actually being implemented in real time. The don't believe your lying eyes, okay? Up is down. Good is bad. Bad is good. All at the behest of this fascist project. So perhaps it's not that strange, ultimately, that the likes of Nick Fuentes are gaining prominence in this dangerous media landscape. This is one of the things that I was going to show you as well.
Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes. Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Repeat.
Like, this guy is saying, I'm a fucking violent threat. Okay? That guy right now is getting boosted by Elon Musk and has been. Mr. Christian right here, Mr. Wholesome Christian right here, is claiming that I'm the fucking violent, dangerous radical. Now, of course, maybe in the eyes of this current administration, they might also see me as the violent, dangerous radical and him to be an ally.
Can one of these women just get it together before I kill all of them? No, I'm kidding, of course. I would never wrap my hands around a... Look, I love everybody. Look, I just love everybody and I just hate violence. Can...
Anyway, getting back to this current administration and their priorities, some of the highest ranking officials in the federal government use Mr. Kirk's podcast, The Charlie Kirk Show, to lay out their plans. From his official office at the White House, Vice President J.D. Vance served as a guest host of the podcast, inviting senior members of the administration, including Stephen Miller, the president's top policy advisor, to praise Mr. Kirk while also detailing their plans to crack down on what they call leftist non-governmental organizations. The show was broadcast on the television screens in the White House briefing room and in several West Wing offices. In their comments, Mr. Vance and Mr. Miller spoke in vague and menacing terms about far-left groups that they said facilitated violence. Okay? Here's one of the clips.
We have to make sure that the killer is brought to justice, and importantly, we have to talk about this incredibly destructive movement of left-wing extremism that has grown up over the last few years, and I believe is part of the reason why Charlie was killed by an assassin's bullet. We're going to talk about how to dismantle that and how to bring real unity that can only come when we tell the truth and everybody knows that they can speak their mind about the issues of the day without being cut down by a murderer's gun.
Yeah. Which is why what we are going to do is prosecute and arrest and maybe even deport all political dissidents, which is not, of course, a violent act at all. Bro's going to tank his show with his negative aura. I think you guys are still at the joking stage, and you're not realizing how sincere and serious this problem is. I'm going to be honest with you. We are living in unprecedented times. The administration is dangerously extremist, dangerously radical. But because it is the administration, we have this false notion that whatever they do is normal and it's normalized. And I think a lot of liberals do not understand exactly what is happening. Okay?
In the last few days for unity and for healing in the wake of Charlie's assassination, you have no idea how desperately I want that, how gratified I was when Democratic friends and even former Senate colleagues reached out to offer their condolences to me. I'm so thankful.
By the way, this was my opinion. Does the assassination of Charlie Kirk represent a significant turning point in American history, or is it just another incident in a series of politically violent acts? 48% say just another incident. This is what I tried to speak to with all of the different media hits that I did with the New York Times op-ed that I wrote. that Americans are so desensitized to violence that they look to yet another instance, even if it's a high profile figure, even if it's a figure that was beloved by the right, and they go, okay, well, you know, it literally, a school shooting happened with a far right neo-Nazi shooting up and critically injuring 2 of his classmates an hour after Charlie Kirk was shot. Like, they see it so much. Americans see it so much that it's not it's not something that they consider to be all too unique. Like I said, while who Charlie Kirk was, or how much of a beloved figure he was for at least like some of the powerful people within the MAGA movement, the expectation that Americans are going to be so desensitized to violence because of our overall inability to address the systemic reasons as to why this kind of ultra violence takes place with regular frequency, to then turn around and be like, well, this one is different. For many Americans, they're not going to see it as that. That's it. The reason, I mean, this is still significant, by the way. 40% saying that this is a significant turning point is definitely larger than the 30% that you would expect to say is a significant turning point. You know, the people that say, this was my radicalizing moment. And it's like a guy who has been a Nazi for the past decade. You know what I mean? It's like, no, bitch, this wasn't a radicalizing moment for you. You keep using every moment as a radicalizing moment. You say Cracker Barrel is a radicalizing moment. You say woke is a radicalizing moment every single time. Okay? But the reason why this is a dangerous number is because that means that there's at least 10% that were in the margins that have been that have fed into all of the both liberal media and right-wing media consistently pumping this up and saying that this is like this is a significant turning point for America. They are coming after white Christians or whatever. Like, people are subscribing to that notion. Here's Greg Gutfeld saying, we don't need more information. What's interesting here is why it's only happening on the left and not the right.
It wasn't school indoctrination. Kerry Lake went off on that. He was in an online apprenticeship program at Dixie Technical College, which I don't think was changed.
I would just note the family said he changed.
But they didn't say when he changed. Yeah.
If Americans are desensitized to violence, wouldn't that also apply to the people in the admin? I feel like that needs to happen. Is Kirk's funeral next Sunday, along with some new Epstein news jobs for us to move on from this? No, the administration doesn't give a fuck about Charlie Kirk either. They knew him. They loved him. They hung out with him and his family. Donald Trump was asked about Charlie Kirk the other day. He literally immediately started talking about the fucking ballroom he's building. What more do you need to see from Donald Trump to recognize that he does not give a shit about Charlie Kirk at all? Now, I know out their plans. Trump administration officials on Monday responded to the activist Charlie Kirk's assassination by threatening to bring the weight of the federal government down on what they alleged was a left-wing network that funds and incites violence, seizing on the killing to make broad and unsubstantiated claims about their political opponents. Investigators were still working to identify a motive in Mr. Kirk's killing, but the Republican governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, has said that the suspect had a leftist ideology and that he acted alone. The White House and President Trump's allies suggested he was a part of a coordinated movement that was fomenting violence against conservatives without presenting evidence that such a network existed. America has seen a wave of violence across the political spectrum, targeting Democrats and Republicans. On Monday, 2 senior administration officials who spoke anonymously to describe their internal planning said that cabinet secretaries and federal department heads were working to identify organizations that funded or supported violence against conservatives. The goal, they say, was to categorize left-wing activity that led to violence.
No drugs are coming across. Probably stopping some fishermen, too. I mean, to be honest, if I were a fisherman, I wouldn't want to go fishing. Just a nice, let's take a little trip, because I'd say, man, if they... Maybe
he's literally threatening civilian fishermen off the coastline of their own sovereign state.
There are literally no boats. This was a boat.
Fucking insane.
We were surprised to see it. Now, what does that mean? That means there's no drugs coming by sea, but they do come by land. And you know what? We're telling the cartels right now, we're going to be stopping them too.
Hassan
When they
promotes
come by land,
killing.
we're going to be
Left-wingers are
stopping them the same
insane.
way we stopped the boats.
You're watching Donald
you'll see
Trump
that.
straight up threaten after attacking 2 ships off the coast of Venezuela, threatening random fishermen overseas. And you're like, Hassan is the one who actually promotes killing. I don't. Okay? I do not.
Speak to you directly to alert you that Israel was going to be striking
No.
Hamas sites in
No,
Qatar?
he didn't. No, he didn't. Yeah, go
How
ahead.
did you learn of it?
Same way you did. Go ahead, please.
But you mentioned that the shooter was radicalized online. Do
I
you
think
believe
so.
that social
But,
media
by the way,
companies...
when I say that, that's my opinion. I think he was radicalized online based on what they're saying.
Do social media companies bear any responsibility for that? And how does that
I'm going to have to
affect
ask, I don't know, I'd ask Pam that question. I don't know if you or Todd could give an answer to that. Somebody has to bear some responsibility.
You know, and President Trump, I've always told parents, you got to watch what your kids are doing on the internet, what they're doing online, what they're listening to, what they're reading. They're all online. They're all on their phones all the time. Parents have got to monitor that because this starts when
I have a serious question for you, Shy Luna Moon. People online are posting cut up old things like you said. Like when you first started streaming. The way it's cut up, it looks really bad. I don't know the full context because they're from when you first started streaming. When I saw it, I can see why people think you were calling for violence against the right. You've been in here since 2019. You've been subscribed for 22 months. Have I said something even remotely similar to the way that people are presenting? If the answer is no, then why the fuck would you turn around and be like, well, we got to hand it to them. People are just lying about what your political positions are. Like, do you not have the capacity to think for yourself? Do you not have the capacity to think for yourself? How long have you been in here? You have the capacity to think for yourself. If it doesn't make sense, if it is entirely antithetical to the things that I have said for the past 6 fucking years, why are you questioning it? I mean, go dig deep. Go find it, okay? I know there's a video that looks really bad. I know there's many videos, okay? I know. I think the concern is there isn't a longer clip that puts it into a context as an exaggerated joke. Yes, it's from when I was talking to Dan Stalkman, who I was friends with at the time. Okay? That's where it's from. It doesn't fucking matter. It literally doesn't matter. It's LARP. It's not serious. There has never been a moment where I've been like, we should, you know, as a sincere policy opinion, advocated to do harm to fucking landlords. They're trying to make it seem like there is a serious threat to Maoist third worldist landlordicide in the United States of America in 2025. Yes. Okay? That's it. It's fucking stupid. Yes, brother. Yes. Back when I thought that they were progressive, and they did present themselves as progressive social democrats. Okay? Both him and Sex Pestiny. What are we fucking talking about? Wouldn't there be a more recent clip that you could point to if this was like a sincere opinion that I was advocating for? Don't you think that this would be something that comes out, something that comes across? What are we doing?
Get on TikTok. He used to say to me, get on TikTok. Charlie was unbelievable. So probably, and I did. I had somebody named TikTok Jack. And he'd put that camera. He said, just a real quick statement, sir, like 10 seconds or less.
This guy said, it doesn't matter. You said it in the internet and people will always use it against you. You fucked up, man. You're right. I should just end my entire political advocacy, dude. Okay? You're right, chatter. I should just stop doing it. You know what? Fuck it, guys. Have a good one. Like, what is this fucking take, dude? Yeah, no shit. You're taking it the wrong way. What do you mean? That guy literally said, oh, it's on the internet forever. I know, dude. I know. People also think that I'm responsible for 9/11. Okay? People also think that I played a role in it or advocated for more 9/11s to happen. A lot more people know that, actually. A lot more people think that, as a matter of fact. There's not much you can do at a certain point. Okay? You just have to keep pushing. That's it. That's it. No matter how idiotic, no matter how stupid someone's positions might be, someone's like negatively framed smear campaign might look like, people will always believe it. Okay? People are always going to say, no, this is what he believes, this is what he did. He dropped Tower 7 himself personally when he was fucking 9 years old. He's the one who made Russia invade Ukraine. There's a bunch of insane things that people believe. Okay? And it's so funny because, like, I'm literally getting, I got a shit ton of people demanding that I get arrested, prosecuted, killed all over the internet. And people are like, well, you know, what's up with this take from fucking 2018 when you're talking to a landlord and you're LARPing? A landlord who at the time was your friend, as a matter of fact. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? My favorite thing is like when people just look at something that is very clearly cynically framed, very clearly negatively framed. It's just like not something that I'm talking about at all, and then presenting it as though I'm like advocating for violence. It is what it is. It is what it is. I used to think you were a crazy terrorist sympathizer. Then I watched you for longer than 5 seconds, Lamau. Exactly. Exactly. This is the name of the game. Okay? The name of the game is smear people and consistently try to belittle their position rather than actually try to understand what the fuck they're saying. And it's unfortunately very successful in the clip-based media landscape that we're in, where people's attention spans are shorter and shorter all the time. There are more than 10,000 hours of political commentary that I've done very publicly in front of hundreds of thousands of people over the course of the past decade. My positions are very well known. And yet, there are still people who do everything in their physical power to actively bastardize those positions, to actively undermine those positions, to try to fucking farm outrage clicks to the best of their ability. It's just an unfortunate byproduct of the environment that we're in. Okay? If you think a singular 10-second clip can truly change your perspective on everything that I've advocated for over the course of the past 10 years, I don't know what to tell you. It's that simple. That's it. Too bad you made the 9/11 comment. I enjoyed your content. Yeah. Do they really think Dipset was Taliban? Yeah, they do.
The American flag, go to jail based on freedom of speech, goes to jail immediately, but the freedom of speech protected them, right? And so, and that's been argued a couple of times, and you know, it's one of those things. But you know what hasn't been argued, and we're going to be arguing it, I think, very soon, and that's the violence. They incite violence. So when I saw it just yesterday, they burned the American flag, and people that were there were fine. And all of a sudden, they're going crazy, and there's fist fights. It wasn't in Memphis either. But I will say, it incites violence.
You need counter messaging, man. Even if it won't turn the radicals, then at least don't let the moderates paint a target on your back. The administration could send you to the gulag. None of the people that are actually putting a target on me right now are fucking moderates. There might be moderates who have been whipped up into a frenzy by radicals, but if you notice, like a lot of the accounts that Elon is actually promoting in his advocacy are all like lolicon drawn child pornography Nazi accounts. Like they're fucking pedophile Nazis that he's like highlighting. Okay. Do you think that those guys are moderates? No. So if you're considering, if you're thinking like, well, moderates might be duped by this, it's true. They might be. And it is on all of us to, I guess, correct the record and to help them understand the much more consequential, much larger problem in front of us. Right now, this administration is bouldering in the direction of fascism. If your concern here is what Twitch streamers have said at any point, really, and not the much larger, much more significant problem that is imminent, then you are, unfortunately, a deeply unserious person. Proof that he promotes pedos. I think the last two lolicon accounts that he retweeted were both, they're lolicon accounts. They're like drawn art. They're drawn children.
Die. And I thought that was very terrible. And I put out a statement on that. You saw that.
Mr. President, on Charlie Kirk, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk,
right,
do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to have staff when Melissa Boardman, the
so you don't have proof, okay?
Was gunned down by
Wait, what? That was... Then what was the post with the guide on how to make a weapon to kill a politician meaning? Wait, dude, do you think that in the United States of America that someone needs to make a weapon? Are you fucking stupid? It's clearly a joke.
Assassin as well.
I'm not familiar. Oh, the
Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, sometimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
And given the killing of Melissa Hortman, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the attack on Gabby Giffords, the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion, why?
Damn, who let her in? Who let a real journalist in the room? What's happening?
It seems to be taking.
I didn't say it's on one side, but I say the radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way. But the radical left really is caused a lot of problems for this country. I really think they hate our country.
This is the account he's talking about, by the way. He doesn't think that this account is a fucking pedo neo-Nazi.
And we are really looking at that seriously.
Vice President Vance was speaking with Stephen Miller earlier today about targeting NGOs that they were saying foment violence.
Right.
Is that? Can you speak more to that? And what NGOs specifically?
That's the account Elon Musk retweeted.
A number of them. Steve, please.
Yes, so I believe what you're referring to is there are these nonprofit entities that organize, as the president mentioned, attacks on ICE officers, attacks on Border Patrol agents, organized doxing campaigns, which are a violation of federal law.
Go ahead, Chatter. Defend the pedophile.
They break off cement and they bring into riots. They have organized drop points for weapons, organized drop points for gas masks.
That account literally role plays posting as a fake underage
for all the
sister.
materials necessary to launch a riot. Of course, you saw that during the Black Lives Matter riots as well, too. So there's this whole network of organizations. And I think the key point the president's been making is somebody is paying for all of this. This is not happening for free. And so under the president's direction, the attorney general is going to find out who is paying for it, and they will now be criminally liable for paying for violence.
And you know, a new thing that I've been seeing a lot of lately, but never saw it before, is they're walking in with bricks and rocks and everything. And the FBI or the Border Patrol or ICE or the police are grabbing them and taking them away, and that's great. And then they whip out a hammer, and it's a beautiful hammer. Really, it's nice. You know, this is not a hammer somebody happens up. These are serious hammers, beautiful, brand new hammers. And they start breaking up the concrete sidewalks and the granite curbs in many cases. Granite is hard to cut. You know, it's very hard stone.
Beautiful hammers.
And they're banging away and handing out pieces of stone. So instead of having it in bags, they're banging the sidewalk, knocking them. You have to see what some of these sidewalks look like when they finish, and especially the curbs, because the granite curbs are very, very expensive, and they're great, and you know, very hard. They are almost indestructible, but not when it gets pounded on for 20 minutes by some pretty strong guy. And then they hand out big chunks of stone so that people can throw them at the police, and people can drop them off bridges into car windows. No, we have a long way to go, and we're going to make it all good. We're going to make it really safe. This country is going to be safe. We've got almost 3.5 years. Think of that, 3.5 years. It's a long time. It goes quickly. But at the end of that time, I hope one of the many things we can say is that we made our cities safe again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Thank you, Thank you very much. Thank you. TV, we're done. Thank you.
Great. Here is one of the highlights from this incredible press conference.
That's a violent radical left group. Okay, go ahead.
I got peppered with a lot of comments for doing that. They still have their First Amendment right, though. They're still out there protesting. You've got an amazing team behind you.
So, yeah, well, I'm not so sure if they have a First Amendment right. Like, at what point will people realize, like, this motherfucker is coming after everybody, okay? He's coming after everybody. Anyone that is a dissident at any point, he's going to come after. He wants to open up RICO cases to NGOs. We're going to talk about that a little bit further. Okay? It's over. The project is done. Okay? White House plans broad crackdown on liberal groups. Some of the highest ranking officials in federal government use Charlie Kirk's podcast, guest hosted by Vice President J.D. Vance, to lay